You've got the radio on and it's just me and you. We'll talk for a while and share a song or two. If you've got a troubled mind or some spare time to spend with the radio on, you know you've got a friend.
You got a friend. And I tell you what, more people in this city, in this state, in this country would regard Willsy as being a friend than I think probably anyone that show business has popped up in the last, I don't know how many years.
Since I started,
Yeah,
you mean?
Yeah. How many years?
65. I was 7 in 1965.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah. So how much? I can't add up that quickly between 1965 now.
It was
it's nearly 60 years, isn't it?
Yes.
I know.
And you still have stage fright?
Not stage fright, but
No, I'm kidding.
But no, it's just that I'm a virgin. I've never done a podcast.
Oh, well, this is not a podcast. This is something that I'm a virgin at too.
Yeah.
This is called live streaming, jeremycordo.com. It's like a radio station.
Yes.
And
your own.
And a dining room table.
I love it. So
And-
when the crayfish comes out, I'll be ready.
Well, we've got cake and biscuits, and there's the water. But we were trying to talk Willsy into a glass of wine, but she said no. If we gave her one, she'd... Yeah, that's right. Somebody told me you don't drink.
I don't drink alcohol. Not for any other reason other than I'm highly allergic to the histamines in wine.
Ah, yeah.
And so therefore I would get sick after 4 glasses of anything or 3 glasses. And I would be really cross to lose a dinner I've just eaten because I love my food, as you know. So that's why I thought, well, I don't need to drink. I need to keep that food inside.
Are you a good cook?
Yes, I'm a good cook, unfortunately. You can tell by this body.
I love the body.
There's a lot of money invested in this body that I've eaten, yes.
Yes.
I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen, you know, and I used to laugh when, do you remember Graham Kerr?
Yes, I do remember.
One of the what
He was English, wasn't he?
Was
celebrity chef.
Yes, a celebrity chef. Yeah. And he always had a bottle of wine with him and he'd glog, and have another mouthful of that. And that was before we thought, maybe it's not a good time to be showing drinking wine at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, one for the recipe and one for me.
Yes.
One for me.
Because it doesn't matter how bad the recipe turns out after 16 sips.
It seems good.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're looking very well, and happy birthday for the other day.
No, mine's coming up, but we're surrounded by Virgos, aren't we?
Oh, yes.
You're Virgo too.
No, I'm a Libra.
Libra.
You're the 18th.
I'm the 18th Virgo. And
I always
15th.
thought, it's silly me, I put you down as the same date as Ernie Sigley, 2nd of September.
Ah.
Maybe that was, in the old days we shifted it around to suit us.
I
That's
can't
what it
remember. Georgian calendar, maybe?
Or a Jeremy calendar, more to the point.
Well, look, I just don't like the way they roll round so quickly these days. It's very disconcerting.
Well, are you 70 yet?
No, well, I'm 78.
You're a year younger than me.
I was born 1945.
Yeah, and I was 44.
Right.
Yeah, so next year, the big one.
Yeah, I know, but I don't resent that. I think it took me probably, because I got into radio in 1962.
Wow.
And it probably took me, I was only an office boy, into radio, but, it took me a long time to get on the air. But when you think back, it takes a long time to just know how to walk into a room or turn on a microphone.
To make it like a second nature to us.
Yeah, it probably takes 40 years
probably.
to get
still
into
learning.
that.
There's
well,
lots
aren't
of
we
things.
all?
Yes, absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jack Benny once said that it took him 40 years to learn how to walk on a stage and look at an audience. And
wow.
He got very good at it because he could just walk. Jack Benny had that look, that expression that broke the audience up immediately.
Yes, almost as if he was startled he was there. That was the look, wasn't it? I'm on stage, But that in itself is an achievement to look like that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Was he the one who had the violin that he played badly?
Well, I think you don't use that word play in the same sentence as his name.
No.
Because it wasn't play, but he would go, and then just put it down and start talking about something and then go back to it, So it was a good prop for him.
A good shtick, because there was nobody else doing anything like that.
No.
When you think back over the era and you look at what we've got on the table now. Not this table, mind you.
You mean the television table?
The television table.
It's been dumbed down, darling, hasn't it?
How did we let that happen?
Well, we weren't there. If we'd been there, perhaps it wouldn't have happened.
They don't like local production, do they? They want.
Look, forever, ever since I started in 1965, the catchphrase was, "Oh, we can't afford it." Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. We've never been able to afford anything, you know. Because we're paying CEOs of companies too much money. Probably that's what it is. But yeah, it's always been. I'm really heartbroken that there's no kind of magazine show or even a Tonight Show.
But we had in South Australia. And
the best.
Well, we did, and we gave birth to a lot of people who went on to national and international things. So we were pretty good at finding talent in our little town.
Well, one of the most infamous things that ever happened on Adelaide Tonight was there was three boys came on and sang a song, and they were called the Bee Gees. Mm-hmm. And the producer of the show wrote on the card that was kept for them, "They're really awful, they'll never make it, we're not having them again." What? Excuse me? Shows you, in hindsight, there's a bit of knowledge.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
it's a small world.
But we did, the thing that I loved about Adelaide television in those days is whoever was visiting to Adelaide, and because we didn't have pokies, they had entertainment in most of the hotels. And there'd be the Rex Tonsley Enfield circuit. So one act would start there at 8:30 at, say, the Enfield, go to the Rex Hotel, then for 9:30, go to the Tonsley Hotel for 10:30. And that's what people did. They had dinner, what do they call them, dinner dance shows?
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. We worked at the Enfield every Thursday night with a country and western show.
See, I remember the Enfield. Who was the bloke who ran that?
Ron Myers.
Yes, a legendary.
He was a legend.
Legendary character.
He was one of the first publicans that made himself noticeable in the front of house rather than,
the real entrepreneur.
He was, and he brought a lot of big names to Adelaide, and we would always use them on Adelaide Tonight at 10 p.m. While they're going from, say, one hotel to another. And some of them became dust biters, we call them. If they didn't get there on time and the show finished approximately 10:40, bad luck, you've bit the dust, you out, you know. And one night at working at the Enfield, Ron Myers came to myself and Jill Freeman, she was then, do you remember, great country western singer, came and said, "Oh, girls, look, when your set finishes, Matt Munro is on live, and we can't raise him in his room. We've been ringing him, no answer. Can you go and wake him up? We think he's asleep."
Oh.
Which he was, because he'd had a big lunch that day. And so we banged on the door, and finally this bleary-eyed person came to the door and we said, "Mr. Munro, you're on in 15 minutes. "Oh, okay. So then we went back downstairs. We said to Ron, "We've woken him up." Yeah. I should have watched it because he was kind of cute, actually, Matt, but not this particular day. He was looking quite bleary-eyed and, you know. And I said to Ron, "I don't like your chances. I really don't like your chances. You know, is he going to make it?" Anyway, 15 minutes later, Alan Hewitt's band struck up the chords for Born Free, and in through the door, which was not done in those days that you'd walk through the audience to get to the stage, but Matt would always do that. And he came through the door and Born Free, and I looked at, who is that? That's not what we just woke up 15 minutes ago. And his tuxedo did not have a crease in it, not even in the arms. He was fantastic.
A pro.
Yeah. But, you know, to get up, I don't like being woken up when I'm asleep.
No, I think that's pretty universal.
Well, I don't even like being woken up when I'm awake.
It's pretty universal. Yeah. But there were some great people in front of camera and there were great people behind camera as well.
That's the difference. That's why we don't have productions.
No more.
Well, who can produce shows akin to Adelaide Tonight? Those producers who were brilliant have all gone to God.
It was world class. And
yes.
the people who did it were all pros, and I guess it was done on the smell of an oily rag.
Yep.
But you'd never know that to look at it. and it gave employment and opportunity for a whole generation of people.
Absolutely.
Now, why are they today allowed to have television licenses?
Yeah.
And
If they're not nurturing proper shows like that.
It should be an absolute given that part of the deal is you have to actually produce television.
Yes.
Shock horror.
Yeah. Well, I remember in 1998 when I think it was the first Survivor came on air.
As a sort of
A reality program, they called
show,
it, right? And I remember Baz and Pilko ringing me up and saying, I suppose you're angry, you're out of a job because, they don't have to have any experience. They just got these people out of nowhere, stuck them on an island, and then they vote them off. And I said, well, my argument about that show is that the voting off is done to your face. Now, up until then, votes were secret, always secret. Even now when we go to the polls, it's supposed to be secret.
Yeah.
So the shock of having somebody sit there and go, well, I don't like you, Jeremy, I voted for you to go off,
It's just mean-spirited stuff.
It's very mean. And I said that to Baz and Pilko. I said, I'm sorry, there's so much mean spirit in these shows that I think it's going to teach our younger people you don't have to have compassion or care for your other fellow person. It's all about the dog eat dog and let me be first.
It's like making entertainment out of ridiculing people.
Yes. And I hate that.
Yeah, I do too.
We used to work on Potluck, those talent shows, and darling Bernard King, bless his soul, was always quite vitriolic, I guess you could say, in his attitude.
Well, that was his shtick.
Yeah, it was his shtick, but he was also had an element of truth. But there's two ways of doing that. You can be nasty and brutal, or you can be soft and gentle and say, I think you could do this to improve,
Yeah.
So we were always shocked. Constructive criticism, So I'm just not into criticism, especially to people's faces. I think that's cruel.
Yeah, but the Gong Show, you remember the Gong Show?
Yes, Well, that was different, though.
Well,
the people that went on that knew they were hopeless. I nearly said knew they were dickheads, but I can't do that on air.
No, you can. This is. I keep telling people this is the Wild West. There are no rules yet. No rules yet. They've got this thing before Parliament, apparently. It's called the Misinformation and Disinformation Bill, and it's designed to stop programs like this getting too close to the bone. But I think that they might find it difficult to get that through because it's social media has been...
But isn't it also freedom of speech?
It should be freedom of speech,
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Looking back... But I don't like to look back all the time because I think there's a lot in front.
Yes.
But who was the most important person, most formative person in your career?
Well, Ernie, I would say, Ernie Sigley.
Was he a lover?
No. God.
I thought you...
No, I'm fed up, not hard up. Please. Please, Jeremy.
Can I borrow that?
Yes, you can have it. Of course, at my age now, I'm 79, I'm starting to regret some of the things I'm too fed up for that. No, thanks.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
But Ernie, he was... In 1965, I started doing the weather, which was wonderful. Then in 67, Ernie was... His producers, Ron Christie and Rex Heading, who've both gone to God now, but see, they were the stalwarts of South Australian television. They were the people who knew how to produce shows. Yeah. And they were the producers of Adelaide Tonight, and they said, we need to get you with what we'll do, instead of having just one wheel girl, we'll have one every week. So after a couple of weeks, I saw him as I was walking down to Studio 2 where we would do the news from, and he was going to Studio 1. I said, Mr. Sigley, you don't know me.
Did you really call him Mr. Sigley?
Oh, he was God.
Oh, yes.
Seriously, genuflect and all that stuff before you... And keep half bowed when you talk to him, and ready to do all the Indian touch your head, that type of thing. And... I said, Mr. Sigley, you don't know me, I'm the weather girl. Yeah, I know you, yeah. I said, I would love to do the wheel one night with you. Yeah, sure, okay. So I took that as a dismissal. So about 2 weeks later, he said, Ron Christie said to me, you come in and do the wheel tonight. And I said, oh, fabulous, like 1 day's notice sort of thing. And I went in there and as I walked out to go to do the wheel, he said, "Look, here's our weather girl, Willsy." And I hadn't been called Willsy till that particular night.
Oh.
Here's Willsy. And he said, "Willsy, how are things?" And I said, "Mine are good. How are yours?" And I got the job. And when the show finished, when we finished doing the wheel, Ernie turned to the audience and said, "That's it. Wills is going to be our full-time wheel girl." And Ron Christie and Rex Heading, both who were just off camera, went, no, too late. Because
you became the wheel deal.
That's right, I know. But not good enough to go on the real Wheel of Fortune, which was Adriana's job.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful Adriana. God, she had a face that was gorgeous.
Yes, but a life that was not happy, I don't think.
No. And I think if you're not happy in your life, you bring upon all sorts of ailments, maybe not illnesses, but Adriana had a lot of mental ailment, and I'm not talking ill of the dead, because sadly she died on the operating table. They were trying to remove an obstruction in her bowel or something, and that she died. And she was only 56.
Yes.
Mind you, the tabloids had said she was 45 or something like that. And I said, well, that's all right. It's her prerogative to put her age down. I have never had that privilege, because Marty Smith, whoever he is, in his column, every significant birthday, she's 21, she's 30, she's 40. So next year she'll be 80. So it's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
No, I think those... Marty Smith is a very interesting character in himself. I'd have loved to have seen Marty Smith do a television show. He would have been a very interesting producer.
Absolutely.
He was a great radio producer.
Was he?
Yes, he was.
So how old is he?
Our
age?
Marty would be... I think he's a bit younger than me. I think he might be about sort of 75, 76.
A youngie.
Yeah, well, a bit to learn,
Yeah, that's right.
A bit to learn.
But we're kind to the young kids. We let them play with us.
Yeah. But what do we do about the state of the entertainment business when we've got lots of talent that we haven't even discovered yet?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, the thing about those kind of shows, even the lunchtime shows that first of all, Mike Walsh, who was one of the leaders in that thing, they would always showcase singers, new people coming up.
Yep.
And there would always be maybe at least 4 or 5 entertainment bits in those hour shows that gave somebody the vehicle to be seen.
Yeah, and experience.
Yeah,
because you got to get experience. I remember I was doing the show on DN, across the road from Channel 9, and I can't remember what happened, but there was an opportunity for a Tonight program in Adelaide. But for some strange reason, instead of looking around and finding, you had lots of people in radio, you had lots of people in television, you could have done a bit of grooming and a bit of coaching or whatever is necessary. But they got this bloke from Melbourne who was the voiceover man on
Channel 9?
Channel 9, Melbourne Tonight, or one of those things. His surname was Smith, I remember.
Yeah, Pete Smith.
Pete Smith, yeah. And they would fly him over here every week.
To do the Adelaide Tonight.
To do Adelaide Tonight when... why would you bring a Melbourne person to Adelaide to do a Tonight show when you could have done somebody here?
I had to do the wheel with him. I mean, Pete Smith is a lovely man, but...
No, I'd have set the town on fire.
But then, I think the problem was he wasn't Adelaide.
No, that's right, and I like that about Adelaide. There's nothing wrong with being parochial.
We have spawned some really great talents.
And we've lost some great talent.
Yeah. I always thought that was weird, that it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction. Ernie had gone to Sydney to do the Tonight Show in Sydney, or was it Melbourne? And so it was like, we've got a hole we've got to fill. But there were people on radio here in Adelaide that hadn't been given a try.
Yeah.
Creasy would have done it well, but in those days they said you can't be a newsreader and an Adelaide Tonight type of personality, which Creasy used to do our little skits with us, because you lose your credibility.
No, that's rubbish, because that's wrong. I mean, the doyen of newsreaders in Sydney was Brian Henderson.
Yes, and he did Bandstand.
Yeah.
exactly.
For years and years.
Yeah, it didn't hurt his credibility
Not
at all.
at all. No.
And I thought it's so unfair because I think it's always great when the viewers can see another side of someone who does, say, the news reading, because it's
That's
a very
right.
serious job. Thank God they've only ever asked me to do it once and I stuffed it up so badly.
What, news reading?
Yeah, I was on Channel 2. I did Today Tonight on Channel 2 when Winnie Peltz was crook.
Oh, yes.
And they said, come in and do it. Oh, my God. It was the longest half hour of my entire life because I knew I had to be serious, you know. I had to really read the questions properly, and I didn't.
Well, the thing is that there are aspects of the business where they really... Something as simple as putting the round peg in the round hole. You know, to me, I think that's so bleeding obvious.
Yeah.
And yet what they do not 9 times out of 10.
But it usually is 9 times out of 10, though.
Quite often, you know, they'll take the round peg and they'll put it in the square hole and they'll say, oh, this doesn't fit. Give me the mallet. Hand me the mallet. I'll make it fit. I'll make it fit.
Bang.
You know, that's absolutely silly. I'd kill for a cup of tea.
You've got the most beautiful servant looking after you.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, was a very...
Slave.
Well, I wasn't going to say that, but
slave.
we women, we stick together, Caroline.
Well,
we know.
Caroline's mother used to refer to her children as slaves.
No, only me.
Oh, only you. Oh, well, there you go.
Only you.
If the cat fits...
Because you were kind and gentle and you did it without complaint.
On the phone had slave written on it. It went straight through to me.
I love it.
Jay Walton was another character
Yes.
given birth to the business here in Adelaide.
Yeah.
What a character.
She was different.
Yeah, it was very different. Did you get on with her?
I never had to work with her, so no. Once or twice. See, I hate the functions that we're supposed to attend because I don't like big crowds.
I don't like going out. In fact, I don't really go out at all.
No, because, well, there's not much out there to go out to.
No,
that's for sure.
no.
And so I used to, if possible, avoid any of those functions where everybody got together. But for such a long time, from the 60s to maybe the 90s, we were not allowed to even mention that there was any other television program or show or station in the States.
Other than the one you were on?
Yes.
Yes, well, that's loyalty.
Well,
I'm familiar with that.
It was more than loyalty. It was drummed into us that you just don't... they're the enemy.
They're the enemy,
They're
yes.
the enemy, rather than... We're all in the same industry and we all do a job that is pertinent to our viewers and, you know, and we all channel surf. I do that the whole time.
Yes.
Till I find something, that looks interesting.
Trouble these days, there's just too much choice.
Yeah.
You just get yourself lost in there.
Yes, you can. You need a navigator every day. That's right. But, yeah, Jay was different, but she certainly made a name for herself.
Yeah, made an impression. And then when that ended, she said, Adelaide needs a newspaper. No, a magazine. So she went out there. She's one of those sort of can-do women.
Yes, she was.
Given a project, she would go out there and she'd find a way of getting it done.
Yeah.
Then the SAM magazine, wasn't it? SAM, South Australian magazine.
Yes. Another word for her would be a bit bossy.
Yes.
But I suppose that's how you get things done.
Well...
You know?
I don't suppose you can be a shrinking violet, and particularly women can't be a shrinking violet because...
These days they're not allowed to be.
Well, I don't think they want to be. I think they're in charge.
I still like a guy opening the car door or opening the door for me. So I'm not into that women's lib that, you know, I can totally look after myself.
Yeah.
You know, but... Because I do love the role of males, females, you know.
Yes,
and...
Natural, isn't it?
The natural order. And sometimes what is happening these days surprises me and I go, I can't keep up with it. You know, or the they, them, they, please.
But it's bizarre.
It is bizarre. And at 79, it's too old to learn.
No, I don't want to learn. No, thank you. If you want to talk to Willsy, and I think you might, telephone number is 0491 65 68 60. But it's on the telephone. It's gone off. Oh, okay.
Hi, it's Willsy here. I love listening to Jeremy. He's an old mate, you know. We used to do the news together. We made up a lot of news as well. Do listen.
I kept that from the old days.
When was that? Oh my God! When you were on the other radio show. Was it?
It was probably 5AA.
Yeah, 5AA. I think.
I can't remember.
Yep.
Because I only started doing those listens to things when I was there, and I used to get everybody I talked to just stay on the line after we'd finished talking and record one of those for me.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've got, I don't know, how many we got? Oh,
It's about 1,000.
1,000. Yeah.
What? Do you play them every day?
Well, we're only doing this on a Friday from 9 o'clock until 12, and I'm not sure how it'll develop. A journey starts with a single step,
exactly.
So I don't know where it'll develop, whether we'll get other people in. We've got to find a way of monetising it. So, I mean, I don't want to be paid, but if we get other people to come in and do other parts of the day and other parts of the week, people are going to want to be paid to do that.
Yeah, but most of us who are out of a job don't care if we do it for nothing.
Well, I do it just to keep my mind working.
Yeah, that's important.
Oh, it is, yes. Yeah.
You know, I've always thought that keep the mind active, you know. I'm so lucky to be in Adelaide, number one, though. If any other state, if our family, when we came to Australia in 1963 from Ocean Island, if we had
From Ocean Island?
Ocean Island, near Nauru. Heard of Nauru?
Oh, yes.
Well, Ocean Island was 125 miles east of Nauru.
What were you doing on Ocean Island?
Well, it's a total, absolutely full of bird shit. It's called phosphate.
Phosphate, very, very wealthy.
And, well, not for us, but my dad was in charge he was the provision storekeeper, and he was in charge of ordering the food for the 180 white people that were there and the 1,800 natives that mined all the phosphate, all by hand, and, you know, some excavating kind of machines, but mostly done by hand. And so we were there till the end of 1962, and Dad was at that stage 50 maybe, 49, and he was having heart problems then, but we didn't know that's what it was. And so they said, you've got to come to Australia. I said to my father, if you love me, which is always an awful thing to start a conversation.
It's a good opening line.
Good, but it doesn't work. I said, if you love me, Daddy, you'd go to Queensland where the weather is something akin to Ocean Island, because I've heard it's cold. And I know we're going to Adelaide because I've studied the cost of living. Adelaide was the best, the cheapest for housing. And my older sister had married a man from South Australia, and they lived in Barra Hills, and so did we. So it was lovely, actually. But it's very hard to adjust to winter.
How old were you then?
In 1963, I was 19.
19. So what did you do on the island? There wouldn't have been very much for a teenage girl to do.
Well, we came to Australia for boarding school.
Where'd you go?
Kilbreda in Mentone, and I hated it. I hated it.
Hating school is a rite of passage.
Well, I used to say to my dad when I was 12, Daddy, I don't need to go to school because I'm going to be a film star.
Yeah.
And he'd go, there, pat me on the head, you know. You'll get over it, you know. And I don't know why I used to say that, but I knew that I loved to sing and I loved to show off. That's what it was, you know. And
you had talent.
Well, it was very well hidden in those days.
Oh,
but
I don't know.
The thing is, I knew that I would be happy to do singing. That's all I really wanted to do. And so we came to Adelaide. But in the meantime, from the time I was 15 till the time I left there when I was 18 and a bit, was that I did the office typing. I was a typist clerk.
Well, it's good to have something to fall back on.
Yes, well, it has stood me in good stead, yes.
Of course.
Because in 1965, up until end of 64, I was working in offices, and I think I was Miss Wispy's shoe personality in John Martin's. I've been chosen because I was in the telethon quest and came last, but they knew I could talk. I don't know where they got that idea from, truly.
Amazing.
They're mind readers. And they said, the Wispy Shoe Company, which was pretty big in those days, said, we'd like you to be our representative. So I went to Melbourne, learned how to make shoes, And mainly because they knew I had a shoe fetish. My house is full of shoes. Half of them.
What is it about women and shoes?
I don't know. They're just gorgeous. There's some shoes have been called by other people to me that follow me home and F me shoes. I said, that's not what I bought them from.
What do they look like?
They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Anything that's gorgeous, you know. And so I was working, and then in the beginning of January 1965, I went to England to join this boyfriend that I'd had here in Adelaide. He'd gone to England with his brother, and he said, I think we should get married. This is a great proposal. No ring. I think we should just get married. You better come over. You know, and I went, oh, okay. So that's how enthusiastic we both were. And I got to Perth by ship. We went by ship from Adelaide to Perth and then on to London through the Suez Canal. We were one of the last passenger ships to go through the Suez Canal, you know, and I stayed on board because mainly I couldn't afford to go and visit the pyramids. But to me, I thought the Suez Canal's been here forever and it's historic. And so I wanted to be on that.
Yep.
But I got to Perth and I rang Jack, this guy in London, and I said, you know what, I'm very young and, you know, I'm not even quite 21 yet, so I don't think I want to get married. And mainly I didn't want to have children because I'd seen a movie that showed what happens. What? No, I'm not doing that. No way.
That comes out of what?
What? Exactly. I went, oh, not this little black duck, thank you. You know, but I thought, I'm too young. I'm 20. I don't want to do this. So he
We're
said,
all still too young for it.
yeah, absolutely, for childbirth.
No, I'm getting married. Childbirth out of the question.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly right. And anyway, so he said, no, come to London anyway and see what it's like because, you know. So it was a lovely trip over there, but as soon as I got there, I planned to come back. So I had to work for my airfare to come back. I worked for 3-4 weeks, I suppose, at Repco.
Oh, yeah.
And it was only a little office for Repco, and I was the typist clerk there. And the boss kept saying to me, you Australians surprise me. You don't have tea stops all the time. I said, no, we work. I can't believe it. But the other two girls in the office would be always outside for a smoko, cup of coffee, cup of tea in London. And then I came back, I arrived back in Adelaide February the 14th, which was Valentine's Day. Walked in, surprised Mum and Dad, didn't tell them I was coming back. And the excuse I used to leave Repco is my dad's not very well. I just made that up. But I jinxed him because he died in April that year at Anzac March. You know, so it was meant to be that I come back to Adelaide.
Yes, to be with him.
And then I walked into the advertiser, and once he had gone, I said to my mum, I'll go back to Ocean Island because it was a tax-free haven and you earned big money. And I said, so I went to Melbourne and went to the British Phosphate Commission who ran Ocean Island. And I said, I'm a very good typist and I could work in the office for you and I really need to do the job to help my mum. So I was booked to go back on November the 11th in 1965. And then I took a day job. I walked into the advertiser. I said, I'm very good. I can do your classified ads for you. And I was one of the first ever Rhondas. Remember, help me,
Oh,
Rhonda.
help me, Rhonda, yes.
Yeah. And people would ring up and I would take the night shift till 11 o'clock or whatever it was, or it was probably earlier than that, 9 o'clock, I think. And everybody would bring in their knitting and stuff like that. But I would just, you know, so when they're knitting, I'd grab the first call. So I had the big call because I thought, well, I'm not knitting. I don't know how to knit. I do now, but not then. And so I just stayed there for a couple of, I think April, May, June. And during the day I sold the lunch tickets for the good old Hotel Rundle, which was on a different side of Rundle Street to where it is now, next door to Harris Scarf. And I would sell their lunchtime tickets for $6 and 5 pence.
How many books have you written?
None.
Well, you should.
Oh, yeah, but my mum's gone and so is my older sister. They're both dead, so they're only two people that would have bought it.
No.
I don't know anybody else. You know what, really? And I've got to wait for a couple of people to die before I can, because truth is no defence.
I suppose. Yeah,
Yes, you can. They can sue you, can't they? Even if it is the truth.
Well, that'd be pretty mean-spirited, wouldn't it?
Oh, darling, I'm talking about my last husband. Really,
Oh, how many husbands did you have?
3.
3.
Oh,
Which was the best one?
The one that died. The second one. Not because he died, thankfully. No.
It sounded like that.
Yeah, I know. That's not how I meant it. It was gorgeous. But and because that marriage was so fabulous, I stupidly did it again. Stupidly.
Well, I don't know. It's just a question of having faith in the future.
Yeah. Well,
all right.
you know, I now looking back, the trouble is I've been governed by what you're supposed to do, not what I want to do.
Well, you
I would never have gotten
you-
married ever.
You would never have sort of been too good at doing what you were supposed to do. I sense you're a rebel.
Yes, I think that's a good word for me.
A rebel.
Yeah, quietly.
Free spirit.
I'm a quiet rebel.
And
you
you've
know.
gotten away with it too. You've gotten away with it.
I've been very lucky.
Anything left to do? Any last ambition?
You mean like
that
climb
you...
Mount Everest and all that rubbish?
Some
Gosh, no.
thing.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to do was become governor of this state.
I would have thought you would have been a great politician.
No, I'm a Liberal. We see both sides of the argument, and we give credence to both sides. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy to make any decision.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't want to be that involved, but I thought the governorship would be lovely.
Yes, you'd have made a great governor.
Well,
and you still
Government
could.
House would... No, I'm too old now.
Why?
Because I've heard that it's not all tea and coffee every day with constituents.
You got a bit of...
You've got to go and look after people you've never... And, you know...
Nice to people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of protocol. And
Yeah.
I'm not good at discipline or protocol. So, but I had... At one stage, Martin Hamilton Smith, when he was the leader of the Liberal...
Yes.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
And was at a function at the Festival Theatre, and I said, I want to be governor. When you win the election, I'd like to be governor. He said, you will be, I promise. And then he skipped and went to the other company.
Defected to the other company.
Defected to the other company.
Yeah.
And so, but I have met our lovely current governor, and I said, Your Excellency, I want to know that I was after your job, but not anymore. Not anymore.
You could do a lot of dubbing and things like that.
Well, yes, with the sword,
Yeah.
I'd probably nick their ears. I wouldn't be very good at that. No.
No,
but-
you're allowed the odd slip.
yeah, I just believe there's a lot of protocol and having to do stuff. And as a Liberal, we do what we're told, but I don't want to always. You know.
No. Well, I think the world of you, and I thank you for coming
Thank
to talk
you for
to us
having me.
at the dining room table.
It's wonderful. So the
it's
lobster's coming
different.
next. Is it Caroline? Lobster?
Lobsters?
Oh, thank you. Thermidor, I like it, lobster thermidor. When we could afford it, remember those days?
Oh, you mean, yes, I remember those days.
Before
yes,
we
fondly.
exported everything everywhere else and not to Adelaide.
I know. We got to take charge. You governor, me dictator. We can get it straightened out in no time.
2 days. In
I
2
reckon.
days.
I reckon.
We'd have it.
Bless your heart.
Thank you for having me, darling. Lovely to
Willsy,
see
ladies
you.
and gentlemen. Willsy, there should be applause here.
No.
This is so great.
No,
Thank you.
thank you, Jeremy. Applause for you.
Thank you. No, I've lost the applause. I've actually got an applause button here. Artificial intelligence has applause. No, we got to go. Thank you so much, everyone. JeremyCordo.com next Friday, live streaming 9 o'clock until 12, and of course on the Facebook page Monday, and podcast as well. The Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself. Goodbye for now. Have a lovely weekend.